upset when people started talking about AI. And I'm like, what is AI? And then I watched a few videos and I got really scared then. Started shaking. And I got to get out of this country. And then I started looking at social media, and it was the same thing.
Get started. My name is Layla. I'm one of the co-owners of How Bazaar. This is a worker-owned space, which means that everyone that works here owns it, everyone that owns it works here, and there's 5 of us that co-own it together. Keep it that way, so anytime anyone wants to use this space, whether to just come in here, work, hang out, you're more than welcome to.
My name is Monique Fleming. I am going to be your moderator today, and I'm looking forward to it this evening. She already said I'm part of Porter's Quarters. So if anybody doesn't know, Porter's Quarters is actually a historically Black neighborhood in downtown Gainesville. We are probably the closest Black neighborhood to the University of Florida, and I say that strategically.
Hi, good afternoon. I am Angela Wright, and for 27 years I was the lab proctor at the School Board of Electric County. And I keep talking about I want to paint my house, I want to paint my house. So my neighbor Troy says, what color do you want? And then he did the same thing. He took a picture of my house, and I told him several different colors, and there it was, my house with all the different colors. And the chairman is like, wow, and then I even had this conversation with him about, I'm giving you my personal experience. I had these package of flowers from the dollar store. I said, I was supposed to plant these back in spring, and I didn't. What you think? And he says, you can actually have this in your yard instead of the grass and blah, blah, blah. Lo and behold, he takes a picture of my yard, take the picture of the little Dollar Tree package, and then he says, yeah, here's your yard with this. I'm like, what? I mean, my yard, with flowers. We need not to be afraid. We need to not be lazy. We need to go and learn and use our creativity, use it to our advantage. It's good. AI has its good. And I'm sure, there's going to be pros and the cons, So.
Hi, my name's Jahi Kalfani, and I believe that we can inspire people to be more active and contribute in meaningful ways that can scale. Because, I don't know, there's a lot of people that suffer in the world. I always felt like it doesn't have to be that way. There's certain systems that we have to deal with, and greed and all the isms and constructs and things like that. I've always been anti. So I do what I do to inspire and to build like a tangible alternative to what a lot of people feel hopeless towards changing and figuring out what can be aggregated, what can be created new between the skills and the resources that we have together. And then going from there, like our festival, it's been 3 years of developing our festival. Every year it's lost money. Festivals can get to a point where they generate millions, tens. There's festivals that generate hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. So for us, we start building cultural, creative infrastructure that scales, and we understand software. Like technology, the real thing behind it, it needs to provide direct value to the people utilizing it. Social media, when it first started, it still provides value. It's not like worthless, but it's changed drastically, and it's had a lot of adverse effects, So we need to look at this new era of technology as a chance to reflect on like the past 20, 25 years and understanding how the devices in our hands, the Instagrams, the Facebook, the Twitters, all this stuff, the utility that it's provided to us, and just we have to like rework our relationship with one another and with the technology that we use. So for me, it's that, and it's giving back and being intentional about redirect some of like corporate greed, and that's very difficult to do because a lot of times like there's the nonprofit industrial complex where entities that are supposed to be operating in a way that's beneficial to respective communities, but realistically society as a whole fall to those same capitalistic logics of greed and how much money can I make? Can I go buy this new yacht or this new car or whatever the hell they want, right? So for me, it's grassroots, and it's a matter of people who are grassroots being able to scale new systems. Because the old ones, like, you can try and change it. There's a politics. You can play that game. It's a people game. At the end of the day, it's a matter of who you know and how well you know them. If you want to get anything to happen, like, that's how Trump is now running the country as if it's his business. And really, that's what the U.S. is a massive business. So if you're a businessman, you get in control, you run it how you've ran everything else. So we need people to come into power with a new way of looking at the systems that we've been existing in my whole life. Everyone in here, everyone's life, really. You know, like, us choosing to use US dollars, what gives it its value? If we decide to use a different currency and there's enough of us that transition, then now that's it. The US dollar don't matter. Like, it's just going like that. So blockchain was an option that's still there, that just kind of laid out, hey, there's alternatives if enough people buy into it and someone builds a system that makes sense enough for people to transition. Like, AI is more so like the internet. When the internet first came out and people in the woods were like thinking it was voodoo, you know? This is that. It's not going away, it's gonna grow. And it's something that people have to adapt to and people have to utilize before the systems that we live in are cemented. So there's companies like Palantir who, through the current people in power, are getting more and more access to our government. More specifically, the systems that heavily control how everyone in here lives. Like the tax system, for instance. Palantir has control over that, right? And what they're building is an automated system to manage tax from across the board. So the systems that have been pretty archaic and ran by human beings and slow paperwork and all of this stuff, well, eventually what they're working on is getting everything fine-tuned where the system's in place. There is no stepping out of bounds. There is no not doing this, not doing that. It's like full control. And with the world that we live in now, where the majority of everything is dependent on the phones, like, a lot of people probably couldn't have made it to the shop without Google Maps or something, you know? So living in a world like that and understanding how technology is moving, like, now is, for me, really the last opportunity for us to save ourselves as people, and not fully cement ourselves into a world that really doesn't care about the actual human beings that live in it, simply because of the people who control the majority of it.
Well, as a journalist, the topic of AI is interesting because algorithms changes and influences the way we think and how things are affected. About 2 days ago, Neil deGrasse Tyson said he was surprised. A friend of his sent him a clip of something he was saying, and the guy knew him, so he's like, hey, look what Neil deGrasse Tyson is saying about flat Earth. And then he's looking, he's like, that's not me. And that's when he introduced the topic of deep learning and deep fakes. And it looks like him, sounded like him. Is there certain nuances that was not him? He's like, I don't remember doing that. So I'm interested and excited about this topic tonight.
Kat Diaz. I'm excited about tonight because I deal with AI every single day as a teacher. Basically, every internet platform now has an AI generation option. So whether you're on Google or on, a writing app, or if you're going directly into things like Grok or ChatGPT or Canva, or Grammarly, basically they all, in order to be competitive, have to create an AI option. We're at a turning point where the technology potentially could just, create more of an equity gap versus being geared towards access. And as a teacher, I know the kids are constantly accessing it. And it's something that, I'm building accountability around, but also I recognize, okay, when, if we just talk about like turning in plagiarized work, this is so common now. But how is it necessarily different than when we had to teach about plagiarism regardless, And it is very formulaic, so it's easy to recognize. And that makes me question also the argument that it stands in the way of art, but I also know it's learning from art. They were training the AI through social media and YouTube. Really, what decides the outcome is how we use it. So
Hi, my name is Lay. I am a network security engineer by trade. Just like if you've ever seen anyone play like a video game on a laptop, it gets really, really hot. So what you need is a cooling system. So when these giant data centers, what they do is they use water cooling. They stick it next to a big bottle of water, run a bunch of pipes to it, and they run the pipes to the GPUs in the data center heat the water. The pipes carry the water away to keep it cool, and they just keep circulating it. But so what you have is a ton of hot water, and you can't necessarily reuse that water right away. Uses Warren Buffett or Elon Musk going on and asking you that you should join the bottom floor of their new AI powered stock picking program, and join now. You get on the ground floor, you'll make $1 million. And it are very convincing videos of Elon Musk or Warren Buffett or some other famous person, Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know why you take stock advice from Mark Zuckerberg or people. I still remember Facebook's rollout. That was terrible for the stock public options. Sorry. And they're very convincing videos. There are YouTube channels using Warren Buffett's voice that he tells you about how the economy is doing. It's not actually Warren Buffett, but if you didn't know that, you could be confused into saying the same thing with the Neil deGrasse Tyson video. It's Neil deGrasse Tyson knows that Neil deGrasse Tyson didn't give this speech, but you weren't there, you don't know. You're just oh, okay, Neil deGrasse Tyson has a really interesting take on the flat earth. It's I thought he was against that kind of thing, but I saw him say it, so I must be wrong. Moving on to very quickly the economics. So NVIDIA currently has, a $5 trillion market cap. The problem with that is that NVIDIA does not create $5 trillion of anything. I'm sorry. So when we talk about these data centers, we talk about they're filled with GPUs, which are just computer chips. They're the ones that power the processes, which is how when you send a prompt, it generates the response. You need a lot of these chips, and NVIDIA is the biggest name in the game, so companies who make these big data centers buy hundreds and thousands of NVIDIA chips to run it on, which means they buy a lot of things from NVIDIA. It also means NVIDIA is a big name in running artificial intelligence. And so their stock price goes up because everyone's there's going to be 100, new data centers in the next year. NVIDIA is going to sell a lot of chips. It's a safe investment. And so that leads to the line going up for stocks, NVIDIA being worth $5 trillion. And NVIDIA hasn't sold even a fraction of that. And so say if I have a company that makes cars, Miss Monique has a company that teaches people how to drive in really fascinating ways, and Miss Faye has a company that makes parts for cars. And say I invest in Monique and I invest in Miss Faye, and because I'm a big name, I've invested in them. Anyway, the line goes up, and then Miss Faye gets a famous person, and promotes them to Miss Monique to have a really cool commercial, and the line goes up. And then both of them say, well, they're going to invest $1 billion in me, and my line goes up. And as you can understand, all our lines going up, but none of us have actually made anything. And this is what's going on right now. No one's making anything, but everyone's pouring in money because they think it's going to be worth money later. And right now we're seeing people talk about bailing out NVIDIA when it eventually crashes. And just to say, for those of you who remember, we were actually seeing the same trend as we saw in the dot-com bubble. And we haven't seen anything like this since. So I'm just old enough to remember that, and this is bad. Like,
Hello, my name is Vincent. What do? I do a few things. So primarily, I'm in real estate. I've been in real estate for a little bit over 13 years now. But I have a deep passion for historical justice and just community work and sustainable development to help us connect in a different way. Gainesville and Florida, and especially our country, we're very siloed in a lot of the work that we do. And so social media for me has been a way for me to put it out there, like, hey, here's a problem I see, and I never like to bring up problems without a solution. Really trying to help with like the sustainable aspect of everything. And because again, like without that, the more we depend on an Amazon, the more control they have and the more that they're gonna hurt us, and they are hurting us, obviously. So, to me, technology has been something that's kind of leveled the playing field a little bit if we learn how to use it to our advantage. I'm like, we can't let that stop us from pushing forward and using it to our advantage, because again, like, if they got tools over there and they're using them against us, like we have to use those same tools or better ones.
Hi, I'm Jean McCoy, and I am currently volunteering with, I'm the volunteer vice president for the Progressive Caucus here in Gainesville, but I'm also doing all the social media for them as well as for the Hispanic Caucus. So I'm really involved in social media, and that's my background. I'm not currently working, but I have a 30-plus year career doing marketing, social media, and a lot with AI. So I'm excited to be here to talk about that today. I also spend a fair amount of time having to look things up to make sure they're real, because there is a lot of deep fake stuff out there. I saw a post just today that I was certain was fake, and it wasn't. And I had to go back and do the search and look at the sources and to make sure that what I was looking at wasn't fake. And then I did a whole post about how it wasn't fake, and here's how I found out why. So, so at the end of the day, there's so much misinformation out there, and social media and actually showing people that you're doing the work can really make a difference in people wanting to participate with you with what you're doing. Because if they feel that you're taking the time to make sure that what you're posting and talking about is real, and you're giving them the reasons why, it can truly make a difference. I think that understanding where your customers are and what you're trying to accomplish with it. So in the case of what I'm doing right now for the social media for the two caucuses that I'm involved in, I actually want people following us beyond Gainesville, because I'm looking at it as a potential fundraising tool. And so in a very short period of time, we've built up right now over 3,000 followers around the country for each of those two caucuses. Social media and AI are very linked. AI is a tool to get information. It's a source to start your kind of research, but it's, as you said, like you could do a search and then you can do the same search and you get two very different answers, and you have to look at all the back sources and make sure that like what they're telling you is actually correct, because there's a lot of garbage out there, information, but everything has to be checked and rechecked. It's just a source. It's not the be-all, end-all answer. And you do need to look at everything you're getting. It's very time-consuming. But I trust that technology can help us in the long run. But from a corporate perspective, I'm just going to say that I think companies use this information in a very targeted way, and I know this because I've worked for corporations. If you have ever driven like near a Starbucks and you get like a little ding on your phone saying, hey, you need to order a Starbucks? Or the same if you go by the gym and it's like, hey, ready to stop into the gym? I know, if that's happened to any of you, that's AI kind of getting you to kind of think, oh yeah, I want to go do that. We need to understand it, and we need to ensure that we have great regulations to protect we, the people. Because corporations are gonna use this to their needs. And we need to make sure that it's actually being used in a way that's gonna help all of us. So if jobs are gonna go away, corporations who are benefiting from some of the efficiencies that happen because of AI, in my opinion, need to contribute back to ensure that people get to use that same AI to train them for other things. So we need really good regulations. Government should play a role in ensuring that the companies that are gonna benefit the most from being able to not have employees like McDonald's or whatever, that they actually need to give back to communities to ensure that people get re-educated and able to have skills that can be used in other ways. And I think that that takes people being educated as to what AI will do today as well as what it's going to do in the future, and then ensure that policies protect the population.
Here we are talking about the young people and their future, but we don't have the young people as part of the panel. That's a big mistake. And I hope if y'all can forgive me, please, you can forgive me. Oh, here you go.
My name is Chance. Earlier, when you asked your question about how the AI takes our data, right, and just recycles it, you were saying something about how are the ones who are uneducated going to be able to learn and use these tools, right? I had a thought about the AI over generations or the span of time reading data or collecting data, but the data that's being put into it is already being watered down due to people using it already relying on it. Does that make sense? So recycled data being recycled again, but being watered down and diluted because of the already lack of cognizance, right? That's just something that I had thought about.
It's a joy. I'm so glad we had this event.